Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrand. I am joined, as always, by my good friend in New York City, a fine gentleman, Sir Daniel Rubinstein the 15th. How are you?
Oh, man, I really hope there aren't multiple Daniel Rubinsteins. I really do hope so. I'm good. I feel stretched out. I went for a run this morning.
Yeah?
I'm ready to talk Big Ten.
Yeah?
It's all happening, Ty. The Casper box is still closed.
Still closed. People online were asking, have you opened the box yet?
I saw on the Reddit thread. It'll get open. I will update check out our subreddit, our solid, what is it? reddit.com/r/solidverbal.
That is correct.
That sounds right.
Yeah. That's the correct URL the Universal Resource Locator, as it's known in the biz.
I took a coffee nap, Ty.
Okay.
Have you ever taken a coffee nap?
I've heard good things. I'm not good at napping. I'm not good at sleeping in general. So the whole coffee nap thing's a bit lost on me, but I've heard terrific things about it.
Worked from home today. You slurp coffee real quick, like an espresso shot or iced coffee real quick, because it takes like 20 minutes to get through your system. Take like a 20-minute nap if you have like a quiet, cool room at your office that you probably shouldn't be napping at work. But if you can, take like a 20-minute nap so you don't go into deep sleep. It takes 20 minutes for caffeine to hit your bloodstream, and then boom, you're shot out of a cannon, Ty. Okay. You are just completely ready to burst. It feels good. So I'm good.
You do seem a bit shot out of a cannon here.
A little bit. I mean, the Big Ten West, Ty.
The Big Ten West will do that to you naturally, but
it does things to a man's soul.
By the way, I don't know if you remember when we did this, because I don't, but I found it in our little sound clips folder when we talked about the Big Ten West a couple months ago. This was like our mantra. It's really like just hard metal. I don't know if you remember that.
Ooh. Yeah, Jeff George Jr.
Yeah, that's right.
Feeling it. Ow.
So here we are. We did Big 12 a week ago. We're going to do the Big Ten East, Big Ten West, Big Ten as a whole this evening. Going to go through all 14 teams in just a little bit. We're also going to have a celebrity guest stop by, Dave Revsine, our friend from the Big Ten Network, big fan of the Verbal. He's going to stop by and talk about some of his thoughts in the conference this coming year, as well as what's going on over the Big Ten Network. Going to be 10 years now?
It is going to be 10 years. So the first game was the App State, Michigan. That was the first broadcast game on the Big Ten Network. I like how through Radio Magic, you're like, we're going to talk to Dave Revsine when I've already spoken to him. And because it'll be very strange if you're like, and now we welcome in Dave Revsine, and I'm not going to let Ty ask a single question.
Dave Revsine has been pre-recorded.
Yes, and he's great.
Very controversial figure. We need to pre-record to make sure he doesn't drop any profanity.
That's true. We need to have that final cut with Dave Revsine, who is in State College, or at least was when I spoke to him, had not yet been to the Creamery.
Oh,
this vacation.
Big mistake.
This work trip. Yeah.
Before we actually start talking about the Big Ten, we got a lot of content. Yes. Reams of content to get through here. I need you to give folks your hardest of hard sells to try and get them to come to our live show.
Oh, great call, Ty. First of all, we are paying for snacks.
Yes.
You can show up and I encourage you to order barbecue at Hill Country Barbecue this coming Saturday, August 12th between 5 and 7 p.m. in the big downstairs. It's about twice the size of our first live show in New York. There will be barbecue available for purchase, but wings, Frito pie, chips and queso. I got like 6 tubs of cans of beer. So first of all, that's the sell right off the top. Second of all, we're doing our fantasy things draft. Third of all sorts of good, fun people there. Fourth of all, Ty has agreed to hug anybody who wants a hug.
That's right.
Record the outgoing voicemail for anybody who wants that.
Yep.
And in general, just hang out with good folks and me. So what's a better way to... And you can still go out after. This is like, we are celebrating the West Coast college football experience where you get college football content and then you can still have a fun night on Saturday.
That's right. It's an experience. It's not just a live show.
This is absolutely true. So I want to see everybody, in the New York area, come out. Hill Country Barbecue. It's on 26th Street between Broadway and 5th Avenue. It's going to be a great time.
This is our final push to get folks to buy the remaining tickets. The handful of remaining tickets that are out there.
We've got a big crowd. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's already a big crowd coming. We're excited about that. but we want to make sure that every seat is filled and that everyone can partake in the excitement. I can tell you, peering behind the curtain here, the list that Dan and I have only begun to compile, we should probably work faster. The list of fantasy things that we are going to be selecting from is shaping up like no other. I am very excited about some of these. I already know what my first pick is going to be, but I think to make things fair, we're going to have to flip a coin in person to really give it that on-edge feel that I think we're trying to drive for the live audience. But if you aren't able to make it, if you are in some other location, stay tuned to the Instagram feed because Taylor, the intern Taylor, he's not really an intern, more of a producer.
He's our production assistant producer, yeah.
That's right. He's going to be doing some stuff on the social feeds, and you can pay attention through any of those if you're interested. We also will release that show at some point in time for those of you who are actually interested in hearing who we select. So, final push, going out to solidverbal.com, check the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram feeds. We have all the information there. Tickets are $15, as we've said time and time again. We ain't getting rich off this. We're just looking to have a good time and talk some college football. So if you are in New York this weekend, preferably on Saturday when we're doing the show, stop on by, buy a ticket. We'd love to meet you.
And we're going to do a panel with the cast of Step by Step.
That's right.
A panel with, and some college football friends from New York are threatening to come by. So any of those people, they might be fun to meet too. So have you ever seen Ralph Russo in person?
Nope.
It's not what he looks like on Twitter.
Nope.
He is 6'5" and Samoan.
That's right.
Not a lot of people know that. So we're going to have a great time. We want to see you.
On that note, shall we get into the Big Ten?
I think we shall.
Yeah. All right. That is loud. Holy crap.
Yeah, no, that really hurt a little bit.
Where shall we start in the Big Ten, Dan?
Okay, I want to start with this. I want to ask a big picture question of you before we dive in, because I think this is sort of a bit overarching. The identity of the conference, is it fair to attribute one singular identity to a conference? Is there a specific notion about the 2017 conference that you feel like is applicable? Is there, what do you immediately think of when, it's hard when there are 14 teams, but
right.
what is the general feeling you get for this conference?
Am I allowed to?
Sure, absolutely.
The top is decidedly better than the bottom.
Okay.
All right. There is a very clear distinction between tier 1 and 2 and tier 3 and 4. It's a pretty big chasm between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And we'll get into who's in what group. But that to me jumps out. The second, though, is that there are a lot of teams in here that I could really go either way on. I don't have a definitive opinion about which way their season is going to head, specifically in the Big Ten West. When I look at the Big Ten West and I look at the schedules of those teams, maybe for everyone outside Wisconsin, I could really, truly say, yeah, that team could go 4-8, or yeah, that team could go 8-4. There's really a lot of variability there as I see it. So I am particularly interested in which direction that side of the conference heads.
The thing that I kept coming back to when I was looking at the various teams, strengths, weaknesses, personnel, schedules, I would look at a schedule and say, okay, this team has this very definitive weakness. Let's look at their schedule. Let's see who can take advantage. Let's see the roster of quarterbacks or something that this team faces. And I look at it and I say, yeah, okay. Maybe. That, like, across every single team, whether it's the good teams or bad teams, whatever, it was sort of disheartening to be like, all right, is it going to be Minnesota? Is it going to be Nebraska? Like, which of these quarterbacks jumps out to me? And other than Trace McSorley and probably JT Barrett, there aren't really jumpers. I don't fear too many Big Ten quarterbacks at this moment. So that to me makes it probably more interesting and more toss-up-y, but at the same time, a little disheartening.
Yeah, I think we'd both agree that Ohio State is probably the top dog.
Mm-hmm.
Fair to say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that they return what they return at quarterback and along the front seven, which is basically everybody, and we can start with Ohio State if you'd like.
Yeah.
and they have the coaching staff that they do, and they have the new coaches that they do to sort of address concerns. I mean, the fact that Greg Schiano is still there and still having the capability to unleash just a ridiculous level of talent upon the world is not at all fair, but sort of the best in college football terms. It's hard to pick against them when they've replaced secondary guys recently really well. Offensively, I know everybody wants JT Barrett to take a step with Kevin Wilson, and I sincerely hope he does, especially down the field. There's not much to say about Ohio State other than, yes, there are new pieces, but their new pieces are better than pretty much everybody's old pieces.
On paper, there are only 3 losable games for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Those are Oklahoma in early September, Penn State.
In Columbus, by the way.
In Columbus.
Yeah.
Penn State, Halloween weekend, after a bye week. That game is also in Columbus. And then, of course, the game against Michigan, which is like Thanksgiving weekend, November 25th. That game is in the Big House. Those are the only 3. Those might be the only 3 games all season where Ohio State isn't a double-digit favorite. And guess what? They ain't losing all 3. No chance of that happening. So could they lose to someone else? Okay, sure. But they'd really have to come out and sleepwalk against Iowa or Nebraska. I don't know. I'm stretching here. My point is that I don't see any way possible this isn't at least a 10 or 11 win team this year.
I think that's totally reasonable. The other game that I have circled, and this is a huge toss-up, is the fact that they go to Kinnick, they go to Iowa the week after Penn State. So potential letdown, body blow, whatever the case may be. That's a tough spot, especially if Iowa figures things out offensively by then. So that's really the only of the non elite that I could see being a trip up moment.
The 2 questions that I have about Ohio State, and again, we're really splitting hairs here. You mentioned about the passing game and Kevin Wilson. Can he remedy that passing game? Because it was very underwhelming a year ago. He is the new offensive coordinator. He comes over from Indiana. He resigned from Indiana due to some controversy. Ohio State now, I think, gets the benefit of the doubt to some degree because it's Kevin Wilson, because it's Urban Meyer, and they've had such remarkable consistency over the last 5 years or so. Part of me, though, wonders how fixable it is. Is it a JT Barrett thing? Is it a scheme thing that Kevin Wilson can tweak and make better? JT Barrett's always been noted more for his running than his passing. What is the ceiling for him as a passer? And oh, by the way, he loses Dontre Wilson, Noah Brown, Curtis Samuel.
Right.
Someone else is going to step up in time, but it's clearly something to watch. The other thing I'd say is the pass defense. Now, thankfully, if you're in the Big Ten, it's not like the pass defense is something that you're going to have to worry, I think, too much about. To your earlier point, how many quarterbacks really frighten you?
Yeah.
But it's worth noting that you lose Malik Hooker, you lose Marshawn Lattimore, you lose Gary and Conley. They took a mini step backwards a year ago. Can they take a little bit of a step forward? They're going to be tested against Oklahoma second week of the year. It's a mini matchup to watch. We know Oklahoma's going to air it out. So long story short, what happens with their passing defense? I won't harp too much on Ohio State, but just a ton back with Barrett and Mike Weber and the offensive line and the front 7 being virtually intact. I'm pretty excited about Ohio State. I don't see how they don't get to 10 wins at a minimum.
You know what helps a greenish pass defense secondary? About 35 blue chip world destroyers up front.
Absolutely.
That makes it easier.
Who is your next best team in the Big Ten?
At this point, it's still probably Michigan by a hair.
Really?
Penn State wins the conference last year. You know, they lose a couple key pieces on defense, but virtually the whole offense is back. But Michigan destroyed Penn State last year, wounded Penn State by 30 or 40 points. And I still feel as if Michigan's defense, with secondary losses, but so much talent up front, may be in a better place than Penn State's offense at the moment, which is to say,
wow,
Michigan's defense is excellent and Penn State's offense is excellent. And it just sort of feels like a toss-up to me, Joe Moorhead versus Don Brown, and the sort of huge pieces that they both assembled. So Trace McSorley struggled against this Michigan defense last year. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, that was
also
slight edge.
That was before Penn State got rolling. Are you putting Michigan this high in the Big Ten because you're now married to Jody with an I from Michigan.
Jody with an I will not be listening to this show, and I don't imagine too many people who know her will be. So no, I am not.
Just wondering if there's an influence there that
the game's in State College, which means I might still pick Penn State to win that game. But as it stands right now, if I were to evaluate Jim Harbaugh versus James Franklin as a guy heading into the season, who do I trust more to win 10 games? It probably is still Harbaugh and his staff.
I trust Harbaugh more than I trust Franklin, but there's a lot of turnover. It's not a reboot at Michigan. It's absolutely a rebuilding year. Here's what Bill Connolly said, quote, "The Wolverines must replace their leading rusher, 4 of their top 5 receivers, 3 all-conference offensive linemen, their top 3 defensive linemen, their best linebacker, and their top 5 defensive backs, including nickelback and Heisman finalist Jabril Peppers." That is significant, Dan. So to put them second in the Big Ten is kind of a leap of faith, as far as I'm concerned. Harbaugh is one of the best in the game. He's been really good, especially good, when he doesn't have a ton of experience to work with. He's kind of a savant with the X's and O's, but he's proven pretty much at every stop he's been that he's good when he doesn't have a ton of experience. To me, though, too much turnover. Too much turnover to have confidence that they're going to contend for a title. Could they win 10 games? Yeah, I think so. I think the indicators are the passing game and the defense to tell us which way this whole thing is headed.
Sure.
So I like Michigan, but I don't think I like them quite as much as you do.
So they've recruited very well. And to me, the coaching advantage makes a difference because I think there are guys there that can step in immediately. I know they bring in the number 1 receiver in the country, recruit-wise, Donovan Peoples-Jones. So the cupboard is not bare. They still have Rashawn Gary, who is, I believe, a true sophomore. He was the number 1 recruit in the country last year. He'll be anchoring the Michigan defense up front and gives them a ton of versatility. And again, you say, okay, well, they have a lot to replace in the secondary. Who's taking advantage of green corners and safeties? Which quarterback exactly? Right. Other than Trace McSorley, for sure at this moment. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Do they beat Florida first week of the year?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's more continuity with Michigan at this point, and I think I trust Harbaugh and that staff with time to prepare an entire summer rather than Jim McElwain at this point when so much is up in the air with what Florida's going to look like offensively. Yeah, I think so.
I think Michigan is in that second tier. Definitely in the second tier. I don't know if I put them next up in the second tier. I am inclined to say Wisconsin as my next best team behind Ohio State.
Wow. Okay.
Now, you might not be horny for Hornibrook like we all were last year.
Is this a Wisconsin thing based on you think Wisconsin is the second most complete team or because they have the clear best schedule in the conference?
They have the clear best schedule in the conference. We should play this to talk about, let's give credit where it's due here if we're talking about a Wisconsin schedule. We can play that again when we get to Minnesota, but for Wisconsin, for sure, it definitely comes into play. I am skittish about losing Corey Clement in the backfield.
That's fine.
And it hurts to lose Ryan Ramczyk as your left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But the line is enormous. Enormous. And I asked you this before, a couple days ago. How many games could Wisconsin win if their line literally stood there? Passively after the ball is snapped. How many games could they win with their line not actively trying to block anybody just because they're so enormous?
But still their defense is playing all out and still everything else.
Yeah. Just the line. The line stands there. They stand up and maybe hold their arms out.
They could go 4-8.
I think so too. 4-8, 5-7.
Wow. I think that's a lot. 3-9, 4-8 for me. I think they'd probably lose every game, but it is a question.
We know what they want to do. What they want to do is run the football wherever they have to, set up a few play action passes. But we know what they want to do, and we know they have a track record of doing it very successfully. And so whether it's Bradrick Shaw or Chris James, the Pitt transfer, I feel confident that they're going to figure out a way to get that backfield in order. They've got that part down to a science. The passing game was bad a year ago. It's been bad for a while now, but they do bring back Jazz Peavy and Troy Fumagalli.
Love Jazz. Love Troy.
So Hornibrook's going to have some weapons to throw to that he's comfortable with already. You got to hope he doesn't get hurt. But provided he doesn't, provided that line can keep him upright, he will have some passing options. Defensively, I have no worries at all. The entire line is back. The only guys that leave are TJ Watt and Vince Beagle.
Those are big deal departures.
They're big deal departures, but I feel pretty confident that this defense is going to have itself in pretty good working order and play at a high level right out of the chute. They do have a first-year defensive coordinator because Justin Wilcox left to go and
Jim
coach
Leonard,
Cal.
super young. Yeah.
Jim Leonard, super young.
Only
And
coach for a year. Yeah.
you could definitely concoct a scenario in which the defense takes a step back because maybe he's not ready. He's not up for the billing. But I just feel between their schedule, between their returning talent, Wisconsin should be in a good place where they have to be the 800-pound gorilla in the Big Ten West. And whenever you've got a defense and a running game that should be pretty consistent, that takes you to a pretty good spot in the Big Ten.
All right, I'm going to list off the games where they have at least an average opponent or a pretty good opponent on the road. Here we go.
Okay.
At Nebraska, October 7th. That's the list, Ty. There
Okay,
it is.
yep.
That's the whole dang thing. They have Michigan and Iowa both at Camp Randall. They don't have Ohio State. They don't have Penn State. Going to BYU in the preseason in the non-conference part of the schedule is tricky, but manageable. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, Ty.
I could see 12-0.
Schedule.
I could see 12-0 on the schedule.
Wow.
I could see 10-2. I can't see 9-3 unless Hornibrook snaps like a femur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the defense bottoms out. Do you see that as a likely scenario? I don't.
No, I think they go 10-2. I think they lose something stupid again to Michigan, like a 13-10 game. Maybe the BYU game is a little bit strange on the road at altitude, but at Indiana's going to have a pretty good defense this year. If they are able to take advantage of Hornibrook a little bit and experience secondary, maybe it gets a little bit strange, but I see them as squarely 10-2. That's what feels most reasonable to me.
I like Wisconsin a lot this year.
Okay.
I'm assuming that means next team up is Penn State.
Sure.
How do you feel about Penn State this year?
I really like watching Penn State, and I'm curious to see how they are when they're not the scrappy underdog not scrappy underdog, it's still Penn State, but a team that nobody saw coming in the way that they came, especially in the latter part of 2016 when they're able to throw it all over Wisconsin, throw it all over USC in one of the best games we've seen in recent years. They took it to Iowa in a ridiculous way, a really good Iowa defense. They just shredded them. So the second half of Penn State's 2016 is now a thing that people have to consider. And Penn State now has, a bullseye on their back. What are they going to look like as the hunted and not the hunters? The mentality is going to be interesting for me. I don't know if it's related at all to what Michigan State went through mentally last year, where everybody sort of discounted you and you kept proving them wrong. What do you do now that you have everything in the world offensively? I think everybody returns but one offensive lineman and one receiver. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean,
because Deshaun Hamilton's back, Kasicki's back. Yeah. There's a ton of talent there. Saquon Barkley might be the most complete back in the country. So there's no reason that Penn State shouldn't be excellent offensively. And that's a different mentality to have. What do you think?
Last year, I gotta go back to last year for a second. Talk about a revelation for Penn State. You'd have to go back to 1994 to find a Penn State team that was that exciting to watch. And I would argue that last year was more fun because they got throttled by Michigan, as you referenced, but then they came on like a freight train.
Got healthier too, yeah.
Got healthier in spots, but came on like a freight train, started using their pieces a little bit differently on offense, won the Big Ten, damn near won enough to get themselves into the playoff, and then just fell short of USC in the Rose Bowl, which didn't do anything to diminish their standing. They definitely earned some more credibility for that 52-49, whatever it was, game in the Rose Bowl, the shootout. My main issue was with McSorley, and it wasn't a real issue. I just didn't believe in him. Part of me still feels like I can't deprogram, like he was a flash in the pan.
Pop gun arm.
right? I used
That's
all
what
the
he
old
said.
tropes. But there isn't much evidence to back that up. And I might not be comfortable with his style, but James Franklin and Joe Moorhead are. And the proof's in the pudding as far as that goes. He was unbelievable down the stretch, threw a great deep ball. By the way, we need to add this. And they wouldn't add it on their own, but our friends over at Roar Lions Roar, the great Penn State blog, new Penn State blog out there. Check them out if you haven't already. They have been workshopping a t-shirt idea.
Okay. It's not the butt one that somebody did years ago, is it?
No.
Okay.
They've been workshopping Deep State.
Oh, I love that.
Deep State as a thing that could go on t-shirts. I feel like they are afraid to use it because there is some political connotation there that we won't get into on the Solid Verbal.
Just go for it.
That's not really our cup of tea. I would hope that people are mature enough to realize that this is a pretty funny thing. And absolutely, Deep State applies to Penn State this year. And it did last year. It will even more so this year with Trace McSorley. That is very much their mantra. I hope they decide to run it. I don't know how they feel about it editorially speaking, but beyond that, defense did get better as the season wore on last year. A big part of that, though, was Brandon Bell getting healthy and stabilizing the linebacking core. He is gone this year. My questions are on the offensive line. We've had questions about the line for the last 5 years. Skill positions are fine. They got enough skill talent now to sustain them for a while. But the offense needs a consistent line that can stay on the field and make a difference. That is the biggest missing piece of this offense. And hopefully Matt Linegrover, who came over from Minnesota a year ago, can continue working magic. Did a good job last year. The line needs to continue to progress. I got questions about depth all throughout the team, specifically on defense. Just a lot of unproven commodities.
Secondary's beat up and replacing a little bit. Yeah,
I feel 10-2.
Okay.
For Penn State.
Where are the two losses?
Ohio State on the road.
Yeah.
And then
they're going to start a winning streak against Pitt?
And then a dumb one.
Oh, okay.
A dumb one. Maybe at Iowa. Maybe at Northwestern. I don't know. I'm saying 10-2, a weird loss, and a totally predictable loss to Ohio State.
I'm going to go with 10-2 as well. Again, it's mostly, are we going to count on Brian Lewerke at Michigan State to take advantage of, a couple holes in the secondary, which Penn State also has Marcus Allen, right? He's like an all Big Ten caliber safety. There are not enough quarterbacks in this conference to have me believing Penn State is anything less than a 10-2 team, which is crazy.
10-2.
Trace McSorley, amazing.
10-2. He's a good fit for the offense.
Caleb Henderson, Tanner Lee. I know a lot of people are high on Tanner Lee. I don't know. I believe. Well, that Michigan game is going to be interesting.
Michigan game will be interesting.
They have a bye week before, I believe.
Yep.
Michigan.
Yep.
It's a good time. It's a good time to have a bye week.
Trace is just a good fit for the offense. What can you say?
Yep.
Finding things that fit, though, can be difficult.
Ah, yes, Ty.
Particularly a dress shirt. Sometimes the collar's too tight, the sleeves are too long. Something always off. Luckily, ordering a custom fit shirt's never been easier thanks to Proper Cloth. Our good friends at propercloth.com let you easily create a custom shirt in just seconds. All you got to do is answer 10 easy questions. It is foolproof, Dan. Don't even need a measuring tape. You've done it. Was it difficult?
I have done it. No, it's the easiest thing in the world. I loved it.
Did you or did you not? Be honest. Did you need a measuring tape?
No. But part of that is because I had gone a couple weeks earlier to get fitted for suit jacket and things like that. So I had a somewhat of a concept of, like, I've got my 48-inch pythons, obviously.
Right.
So I need a shirt that's going to accommodate those.
Sure.
So I knew a couple of, but at the same time, you answer a few questions from our friends at Proper Cloth, and it just sort of spits out a shirt that fits like really, really nicely. It's great.
Over 500 fabric styles to choose from, including premium Italian and Japanese fabrics, as well as business and casual styles. All of it starts at just $85. Best of all, Proper Cloth, they guarantee a perfect fit. Somehow it doesn't fit, they will remake it for free. They are the highest rated custom shirt maker on Google. GQ has named them their favorite online custom shirt maker. They're the future of shirts, Dan. No doubt.
If you show up at a wedding and you're a single fella,
yeah,
and you're on the market, And there's a lot of eligible people at wedding. You know, we've got a lot of people in their 20s listening to this show.
Emotions, alcohol, love, yeah.
And maybe you're one of a few people. You're one of a few options. You've got the charm down. You don't look bad. But you show up wearing a shirt that looks like a 7% deflated balloon.
Nah.
It's not a good first impression. It's just not.
Stop it. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit.
Don't
Look
do it.
your best. Custom fitted shirts are the way to go. Propercloth.com/solid. Enter the gift code SOLID. Save $20 on your first shirt. Do it today.
Yes.
The other thing I will add is you mentioned that you haven't opened your Casper mattress yet.
That's true.
Sooner or later, that thing is going to explode in your apartment.
Is it Oh, shoot. You know what? You're probably right. It's packed in there.
I don't know the physics behind squeezing a queen size mattress or a king size, a big thing, into a small compressed box like that.
Okay. Is this a euphemism I'm not familiar with? At
some point, Dan, you're going to need to let that puppy breathe. Otherwise, it's going to take over your apartment.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Right. It's like one of those foam parties from spring break.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. The worst thing ever.
Did you go to a foam party?
I walked into a foam party and walked directly out.
Yeah. Like the Abe Simpson, Bart Simpson at the brothel.
Kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest here.
I would have thought you would have loved a foam party.
Nope, not for me.
Okay.
Casper mattresses, though. Mm-hmm. I'm sleeping on one like a rock every night, dog.
Okay.
An average of 4.8 out of 5 stars across more than 30,000 global reviews. Casper has quickly become the internet's favorite mattress. Real customers have said it's like sleeping on a brioche or brioche. What is that word?
Brioche.
Thank you. It's also like being cradled by the tinkling of a baby laughter. I can't even say it. It's so weird. Baby laughter in the moonlight.
I like that.
The solid wife loves it because it's breathable. Keeps her cool at night. She runs hot. We're loving this thing. We really are. It is all thanks to their award-winning design, continuously developed and improved using the feedback from nearly 500,000 customers. Dan, they sell directly to you. They eliminate the commission-driven, inflated prices of the middleman. Above all, buying has never been easier. All you got to do is order online. They'll deliver it to your door. In that box, Dan, it's compact. You wonder how they did it. They can do it whether you're in the United States, UK, or Canada. Free delivery, free returns, a 100-night risk-free trial. They know how important it is to get a good night's sleep on a mattress before you commit to it. So they give you that opportunity. 1/3 of our lives are on the mattress, so why not do it right? Right now, $50 towards any mattress by visiting Casper.com/verbal, VERBAL. Use the code verbal, VERBAL. That is Casper.com/verbal. Offer code verbal. $50 off any mattress purchase. Terms and conditions do apply.
Let me ask you this, Ty. It's 7 p.m. Saturday night. I get a tip from a former coworker at Sports Illustrated that there's a swimsuit party and it's a foam party.
Right.
Are you in?
I mean, none of the foam parties I've been to have had those stipulations.
But I'm saying it's a swimsuit issue model party.
I would reconsider.
Okay. It's at, hold on, I had something. Foam Town Buffet. That's all I have, Ty. I'm done now. I quit.
So we've gone through Ohio State. We've gone through Michigan, Wisconsin, and Penn State. 4 teams that we're very excited about. 14 teams in the Big Ten. Who is your 5th most excitable team?
Probably Northwestern or Iowa.
Me too. I'm at Northwestern, followed by Iowa.
Yeah.
You need to talk me off the ledge for Northwestern.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we both are Medill proud Medill graduates.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to talk me off the ledge for Northwestern here. The entire team is back outside Austin Carr, Anthony Walker Jr. Those are big losses, mind you.
Oh, yeah.
A few other guys.
Say the name that I know you're going to struggle pronouncing.
No. No, don't make me.
Oh, it was so good.
I am very excited about Justin Jackson, Clayton Thorson, and what this team could do. The good news is that they miss both Ohio State and Michigan. They get Penn State at home, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. Could totally see them taking out Penn State at home. They're at Wisconsin, at Nebraska later in the year. Otherwise, not what I'd consider a difficult schedule. It's tricky in spots, but I would rather play Minnesota early than late, right? You know, that could factor in. I'd rather play Nebraska early than late. That could factor in as well. Plus, they're on the road late. I'd rather play Maryland early than week 8. But by and large, I think it's a very workable schedule for a team that has a lot of veteran leadership.
The name you were looking for is Ifeadi Odenigbo.
Thank you.
Who had 10 sacks last year and was really good and is not back anymore. Northwestern's in a really nice spot. The question is, can they avoid that slow start that keeps happening to Northwestern? They are able to pick off Stanford a few years ago with body clock madness in a super ugly game, but it's a win against Stanford, but then they lose dumb games early on. Is Northwestern going to be able to start out and make noise? You mentioned the offensive skill, certainly there. Pat Fitzgerald he recruits well enough. He's done a good enough job. It's avoiding September malaise to me for Northwestern. Who do they have once again in the early part of the season?
Northwestern opens with Nevada. Then they're at Duke, Bowling Green. Then they go to Wisconsin. That's the big one. Wisconsin.
There's no reason.
Last week of September after a bye week, but still a very difficult game. After Wisconsin, they come back home. They play Penn State. So fairly early, I think we'll know how Northwestern stacks up against the tier 1, tier 2 caliber teams in the Big Ten.
Soft landing with Purdue, Minnesota, Illinois. I think Northwestern's an 8-4 team. I'm a little bit concerned about the defense, but again, this is going to be repetitive. Who's really going to take advantage on this schedule, quarterback-wise? At the moment, it doesn't seem like a lot, but we'll see. Maybe Iowa's going to develop a guy, Michigan State, Brian Lewerke gets better, whatever. But at Wisconsin, Penn State, Iowa's going to be tricky just because they return so much on defense. Going to Nebraska, and by that point, we might all be fawning over Tanner Lee, and we'll all be Nebraska fans at that point. But 8-4, 9-3 seems about right to me because I don't think they're going to lose something dumb, this Northwestern team this year, like they've done in the past. I think this team is in good shape with how much they return on both sides.
We mentioned Iowa. As everyone knows by now, this is going to be Kirk Ferentz's 19th year at Iowa. He is working his way through, 140-year contract extension.
It's true.
Here's what Bill Connolly had to say about Iowa. Quote, the Hawkeyes must replace their starting quarterback, a 200-carry running back, 3 of their top 4 receiving targets, an all-conference left tackle, both starting defensive tackles, and both starting cornerbacks.
Not ideal.
What is good is this. He has a line this year, which should be pretty good. He has Akram Wadley back behind the line. My hunch is that Kirk Ferentz is cool with that. Just those 2 parts.
Yeah.
Got a new quarterback. Got to figure out the whole receiver thing. All they really want to do is run anyway.
Yes.
That's sort of their vanilla Iowa offensive formula. Akram Wadley and a line. What can you do offensively? He's got talent along the defensive line. And at the back end of his defense, there's a fair amount of experience just as a whole on the defense that I think Kirk Ferentz will rely on.
Josie Jewell back, by the way, for his 35th year. I love that.
Absolutely. The real question, though, is in the secondary. Again, they lose Desmond King, a few other guys. How will the interior line hold up? Another question I have. But I think, for the most part, should be okay.
Yeah, this defense was incredible last year. And even if you look at the November numbers, which included the Penn State thrashing, they shut everybody else down. It still finished like a top 15 November defense, including the numbers from that Penn State game. So when they're rolling, when they are operating at their ceiling, at their peak, and they keep recruiting and developing, and the secondary locks everybody down, and they're built specifically to beat just about everybody or hold down just about every Big Ten offense, they're dangerous. It's underrated criminally every year, and the problem is they can't generate. I don't know who's catching passes for them offensively.
Well, that's it. You've got a new quarterback, Nate Stanley, right. Tyler Wiegers, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's Stanley, but yeah.
Yeah, Stanley looked good in spring, but only threw 5 passes in his freshman year. Whoever is going to be their starter, leading receiver is Akram Wadley coming back from a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And after him, Matt Vandenberg and his cursed foot
up,
have to deal with that. But a big question mark. And they've proven they can win by running the ball and playing defense. They're going to have to do a lot of that this year until they can get their passing game sorted out, because that's always been a bit of a soft spot for them. My big question with Iowa is, where is the floor? I feel like the ceiling on this schedule is 8-4. The floor could be 5-7. Could be 4-8.
They've lost 5 games 6 of the past 7 years, I believe.
Yeah,
because they've had some bad bowl performances to get to 5 losses. So outside of the Big Ten championship year, in which they also lost pretty badly to Stanford, they're a team that will play up and play down.
Yeah,
and that's got to be disappointing. So if they're able to maintain a more even keel on offense, Brian Ferentz steps in as the offensive coordinator, like we mentioned. If they're able to find some guys to stretch the fields and keep safeties back a little bit and give Akram Wadley some room, Iowa's in good shape. Schedule's not great. Early on, Wyoming is a tricky team because of Josh Allen.
Hold on. Hold that thought.
Okay.
If it's 1 month from now and I tell you that Iowa lost to Wyoming and Josh Allen because he threw all over them, would that surprise you?
It would surprise me a little bit, just because a passing game is more than just a quarterback. He's got to be protected. There's got to be pass catchers, and Iowa should have a good defense and should be able to pressure Josh Allen a little bit, but it would surprise me a little bit. Very few teams are able to just shred Iowa through the air.
What about Iowa State in week 2?
They've got a great receiver. They've got a very promising quarterback.
Duke of Hazzard, Allen Lazard, right?
Yeah, Duke of Hazzard, Allen Lazard. I think Iowa is too good to lose either of those games, but It is early on. It is a new offense. We'll see.
Projected wins, according to Bill Connolly, is 5.9. So staring 6-6 right in the face here. I think ceiling's 8-4. I think floor's probably realistically about 5-7.
Wow. I have 7-5 for this team.
Okay.
Too much play up, play down for the Hawkeyes.
Next topic.
What do we got?
Next topic. Let's talk about Indiana, Dan.
Indiana before Nebraska. Insulting, insufferable. How
This
dare
is in
you?
no particular order.
Yeah.
I do have Indiana in front of Nebraska, by the way.
Whoa. Okay.
I'm fine with that.
You love your Tom Allen. I like this.
Tom Allen takes over. He did an admirable job with their defense. The teeth of this team in 2017 will be its defense.
So weird to say in like 2014. Ooh, Indiana's defense.
So bizarre.
Yeah.
The teeth of this team is going to be its defense, particularly its secondary, which has a ton of experience. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're going to beat Ohio State. I'm not saying they're going to beat Penn State.
Say it, Ty.
I'm not saying
Be bold.
I'm not going there. They play Ohio State week 1. They're probably going to get killed. But if the defense holds, you shouldn't be surprised if one of those games is closer than meets the eye. That I could see.
They did that last year. Yeah, you're right.
That I could see. I don't like the fact that Tom Allen hired Mike DeBoard.
I'm okay with it.
I don't like that.
Okay.
Statistically, DeBoard has been an okay coordinator. But nobody likes him. People don't like him. They feel he's too conservative. If you're an Indiana fan, I don't know what it's going to feel like going from Kevin Wilson and his offense to now Mike DeBoard and whatever he's cooking up.
Yeah. Tennessee moved the ball pretty well late in the year last year.
I like Indiana an awful lot this year. Maybe I'm a little too high on them, but I think defense can really propel you in the Big Ten, especially in the Big Ten West. I like my boy Simi Cobbs. I like my boy Tegray Scales. I like my boy Richard Legault.
Are you a Lego maniac?
I am a Lego maniac.
Ty, while we're on the subject,
yeah,
I have a dude alert.
Whoa! Whoa! Okay.
Yeah, I have it.
Are you a Lego maniac?
I am a Lego maniac. Well, he's fine. He's big. If he puts it together, he's got nice size. But Nick Westbrook is, I believe, the returning Big Ten receiving leader. I believe that's the case.
1,000-yard receiver.
Austin Cargon. Yeah. He's not huge, but he's got breakaway speed. He turns a little bit into a lot of bit. And I really like his ability in midair to win one-on-one battles, toss-ups. Nick Westbrook's really, really good. And if he's able to stretch the field, I think Indiana has a good shot to be able to, once again, and it's strange to say it after Tevin Coleman and Jordan Howard, they didn't run the ball for, I was going to say a bad word, Ty. Yeah. We're a family program. They couldn't run it at all last year, which is very strange to say. So if they're able to get Nick Westbrook going once again this year, I think there's a good chance that will impact pretty much everything across Indiana and what they're trying to do. And you're right, Tom Allen is an impactful guy. We saw it at Ole Miss. We saw it at USF when he left. There was a difference. When he got to Indiana, he turned a just train wreck of a defense into something at first respectable, and by the end of last year, pretty good. And that's saying a lot at Indiana with where they were. So I like the impact if he can do for the Hoosiers, for what he did for defense, both in Bloomington and other places, then they will be frisky, Ty. How about that?
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. This has the makings of a team that I think loses to Ohio State week 1. No big surprise. And then everyone just writes them off and forgets about them. Then maybe they pull an upset. It's probably a little overzealous to say they're going to
give me the team that they beat that is much more talented, that they shouldn't beat, that isn't Ohio State, that's on their schedule, that an experienced secondary. Like, for me, it might be Wisconsin.
I was going to say Michigan. They're not
Wisconsin's
as
in Bloomington, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't know. But maybe they knock somebody off. Everyone thinks it's a fluke. Before you know it, they're like a 7-5 bowl team.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Projected wins, we've got 6.6 here. I like Indiana a lot this year. I did rank them above Nebraska. My hunch is that you didn't.
Wow. I think I have Nebraska ahead.
Okay, why?
I think we're getting closer as Mike Riley enters another season to running the type of system that he'd like to be running offensively with Danny Langsdorff. I know they bring in Bob Diaco. I don't know that the personnel is exactly right, and they lose their best, arguably their best player on defense, Nate Geary. But there's enough talent in Nebraska that if Tanner Lee is fine, that already feels more impactful than Tommy Armstrong, at least through the air.
Okay.
And I thought that held them back a little bit last year, to say the least. So I like Nebraska. I'm pulling up their schedule right now because unlike Utah, I do not memorize schedules.
I have it here in front of me.
Yeah.
Not terrible. Arkansas State at Oregon, which will be
tough. Weren't able to run the ball last year. That was the problem.
They weren't. Northern Illinois, Rutgers at Illinois, then Wisconsin, then Ohio State back-to-back weeks. That'll be tough. At Purdue, Northwestern, at Minnesota, at Penn State, Iowa. So not the easiest of Big Ten schedules.
It's a tough schedule, though they only really, in terms of tough games on the road, it really is only that Penn State game near the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I am not a Nebraska fan this year, but I am excited. I hope I'm wrong. They are, to me, the ultimate glass half full, glass half empty team. It sounds to me like you're trusting in the law firm of Riley, Diaco, and Lee.
I don't know that I'm fully trusting. I don't have them on retainer.
No? Okay.
But I have very few options in terms of quarterbacks and teams to believe in. I think that they probably lose to Oregon. They should have lost last year with Oregon's second best quarterback. I don't think they're super susceptible. And what did they lose? Like 62-3 to Ohio State. They'll probably be somewhat better this year against the Buckeyes. I have them 8-4.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe 7-5.
Wow.
It so much depends on Tanner Lee. And if I have to hear about the Manning Passing Academy again, Ty, it's great that he played well at camp. That's awesome. So did Mike Bercovici.
Right.
It was really
fun. I am excited to see Tanner Lee. He's a transfer from Tulane. If you're playing the home game, don't know who we're talking about here.
Yeah.
He's a transfer. He left Tulane because they switched over to a different offense. He is definitively more of a Mike Riley style, pro style quarterback than Tommy Armstrong. And when he had time to throw, operative phrase at Tulane, he was really good. Very impressive. He absolutely has potential to be very good at Nebraska. And I'm excited to see what he can do. Nebraska fans are mega excited, which is cool. The word of caution, though.
Who's he throwing to, by the way?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
The word of caution is this. Don't get so excited about Tanner Lee that you forget about the other 21 guys on the starting roster. Because there's an awful lot of turnover here. Who's he throwing to? A good question. Who's he handing off to? Another big question. Will his line give him more time than that at Tulane? I hope so.
Yeah.
Not a given. Will Bob Diaco and his beautiful head of hair have a great impact switching over to a 3-4 to help that defense?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take for that to click? And to what end can his secondary carry the load for the rest of the defense. Because again, a lot of inexperience, a lot of turnover. I want to approach Nebraska with an open mind this year, but I have more questions than I do answers. The first year where it feels to me like it's all Riley guys in there, but I'm looking at the schedule now. With the exception of Purdue, pretty much every game in October and November feels like a toss-up.
Yeah. I think the secondary is mostly back other than Gary.
The secondary, right. But again,
I don't know if that's the greatest thing in the world.
To what degree can the secondary carry the water for the rest of the defense until it comes along? If you're feeling a 9-3 season for Nebraska, you're taking a huge leap of faith based solely on potential. I could totally see like 5-7.
Wow.
I'm just not in.
Wow. Okay.
And Nebraska fans, by the way, are very friendly until they're very much not.
Yeah.
I don't want to cross Nebraska fans that listen to this show because I am excited, genuinely excited for Nebraska. I am rooting for Tanner Lee and for Mike Riley. There's nothing about this team that I don't like.
You come across a lot of Nebraska fans in Eastern
all
PA?
The time. They're swarming.
Yeah.
Okay. All I'm saying
country.
is I am not willing to take that leap of faith quite yet.
Okay.
So if it's harsh to say 5-7, so be it. But that's what I'm
more at 7-5. But yeah, I'm with you.
All right.
7-5 just feels like a very Mike Riley year every year.
True. Very true. Let's go to Minnesota, Dan.
Okay.
Are you rowing the boat? Are you feeling Minnesota this year?
A little bit, but not really.
Okay. Explain.
It's a transition year. There are pieces on both sides that are decent, but the big thing with what PJ Fleck and his guys that he brought over, assistant coach wise, that they were able to do, they didn't turn the ball over a lot. They played smart, fundamental football. They let other teams make mistakes. They weren't taking a ton of chances. They were just not taking a ton of chances in a fun way, if that makes any sense. So
sure.
It feels like a good addition to Minnesota, and it was time for a change after everything that happened last year with Tracy Claeys and Jerry Kill. It was sort of not a great breakup, but looking at Minnesota's schedule right now, it's not.
I have a sound, Dan.
Who am I?
There we go. Talk about the schedule, Dan, with that as your backdrop.
So, if Minnesota were built impressively or slightly impressively, I'd say they should be starting 7-0 because they don't play a single team who finished 2016, the regular season, with a winning record, a Power 5 team anyway, because they do have Middle Tennessee, who I think went 8-4, but don't hold me to that. Buffalo at Oregon State, Middle Tennessee, Maryland, at Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, before they get Iowa on the road Halloween weekend. So, schedule's beautiful. But I'm not too excited about any one specific part. I think they have a decent offensive line. They've got a little bit of experience on defense, but there's nothing that jumps out to me.
And
they feel thin, right?
They're very thin throughout their defense, especially. Yeah. They're stout up the middle defensively, but quarterback's a giant question mark. Should have decent running back options. Rodney Smith, Shannon Brooks. I think they'll be okay in that department, but there are a lot of questions here. 6-6 is about the projection for Minnesota this season. It feels to me like we should really consider PJ Fleck and his antics as something that we draft at our live show on the weekend.
Okay.
PJ Fleck and the whole row the boat thing, which by the way, he brought over. They got the rights to it.
PJ Fleck and that energetic row the boat mentality.
Rowing the boat in the land of 10,000 lakes.
Ah, I like that.
Something like that. You're going to hear all throughout this college football season. He will have them amped up. They will knock somebody off. And I don't know who. He will bring that program
Ty?
To a
Be
nice
bold.
boil. I am excited to see what he does.
Who are they knocking off? Be bold. Are they knocking off Michigan on the road?
Nah.
Are they beating Nebraska at home the week after Michigan?
Iowa on the road.
That's not bold. You had Iowa going 5-7.
Iowa on the road.
Okay.
I don't know. Northwestern on the road, maybe.
All right.
I'm not talking like
weird.
a big gun, but I could see them knocking somebody off.
Defense should be pretty good.
It could be a talk to your kids about Minnesota kind of year if they do start 7-0. Just saying.
Okay.
All right. Where are we going next now? We've only got a handful of teams left. We are running grossly over time so far because there are way too many teams in this conference now. I was promised 10 teams, but apparently there are more.
You know what? Screw it. Everybody's going to expect us to finish with Rutgers. Let's go to Piscataway. Let's talk about Rutgers. Let's talk about Kyle Bolin. Let's talk about a team completely comprised of grad transfers and the fact that Rutgers might be okay. How about that, Ty?
This team is constructed like a homeless man's Iowa State. The way they've gone out, I'm serious now. Chris Ash brought in grad transfers to fill in the gaps.
It's like a college basketball team.
Exactly.
You got to learn the players every year. Yeah.
A really bad offense a year ago, Dan. No doubt about it.
We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
Just not a good year for the Scarlet Knights. Really bad offense. No big playability. They lose quite a bit along the defensive line. The secondary should actually be half decent. I don't think this will be a good team this year. However, I feel like we will maybe start to see the blueprint take shape. We might see some baby steps here because there are a lot of younger guys. It's not a stretch to think that this team could be much improved next season. It just might take a little bit of time in 2017 to congeal around a common blueprint, to see some forward progression. The thing is, they were so bad a year ago that even if they get a lot better this year, it still might look like 3-9.
Yeah, the defense should be all right. If the offense can just get first downs, then that's an enormous improvement. That is world-shatteringly great and will help the defense stay off the field and get some rest and perhaps force some turnovers and put the offense in a good position. So yeah, I think they're going from embarrassment, completely beat up, just get off the field and get to Sunday, whatever, to, all right, flash here, flash there. They've got Big Ten-ish players. They've got a good, decent coaching staff. They've got a bunch of seniors, grad transfers. When sometimes 22-year-olds playing against 18-year-olds, that's an advantage. Depends, but can be. And Rutgers is going up with their voice like I just did.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think Rutgers can go 4-8 and show flashes.
So here's my next question for you now as we progress through.
They've got Purdue in October. They need to be able to beat Purdue. We got a couple winnable games early.
It's a good segue. Yeah. Which team do you feel better about in 2017? Purdue or Illinois?
Purdue.
Yeah, me too.
I do love Mike Dudek, and God bless. Hope he stays healthy, man. But one smallish receiver does not a huge difference make. So Illinois got, they showed a couple, we talk about flashes. They showed a couple nuggets last year, but there's too much work to be done in Champaign at the moment, offensively in particular. And they lose so much on defense that they're starting over there now too. Purdue, I think at least they might get some decent quarterback play. And there's the element of, Jeff Brom is new. By the way, did you come down on the Brian Brom or Stefan LaFour's side way back when in Louisville? I was a LaFour's guy.
I was all Brian Brom.
Oh, see, I was LaFour's. But there's intrigue with Purdue. I don't think they're going to be very good, but they could catch somebody average in a shootout kind of thing.
Yeah, the thing about Purdue, it's a total reboot. They've been down for a while. Nobody is StubHubbing tickets to the Rose Bowl this year. So Brom's got a bit of a leash.
Seat geeking, sir?
Whatever. It's going to require patience. I think Purdue fans know that going in. I think he can rebuild it. He's a very good football coach. I remember when he was hired thinking, wow, that's kind of a coup for Purdue.
Yeah. And it's a pretty good defensive front.
So they've also got Nick Holt as their defensive coordinator, who's an angry
never
man.
Mind. I take everything back. No, he did a good job at WKU. He really did help that defense improve. It's obviously a step up now, though.
Illinois, on the other hand, from our friend Bill Connolly, 42% of their offensive possessions ended within 3 plays for a non-scoring reason. So a punt or a turnover. The offense couldn't stay on the field. The defense couldn't get off the field. Just a story of inefficiency. The Lovie Smith thing to me always felt a little odd. It just doesn't feel like a great fit. It's not a proper cloth fit.
Absolutely not.
So I am down on Illinois again, and optimistic about Purdue. Which brings us to our final two teams here in the Big Ten.
Ty, when you were talking about Purdue's 2016 offense, couldn't help but think of, the teen movies from the 90s, early 2000s, when a character inevitably had to think unsexy thoughts like baseball, grandma, baseball, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Purdue's 2016 offense, Purdue's 2016 offense. Okay, everything's cool. The cold shower of the Big Ten.
There it is.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Maryland Terrapins, Dan.
Okay.
6-7 a year ago. DJ Durkin did pretty well.
Bowl participant.
In his bowl participant, that's right. DJ Durkin did pretty well in his first year, especially on the recruiting trail. Mm-hmm. And he's really just trying to get better talent in there. I think that's the theme that you discover, especially along the defensive line. Who knows if any of those guys can come in and make an impact? It wouldn't hurt if they could, because their run defense was terrible a year ago. Defense as a whole still trying to figure some stuff out. Quarterback, a giant unknown, could have a four-way battle right now. Looks like Caleb Henderson, transfer from UNC. But again, who knows? They lose Perry Hills and Alvin Hill on defense and Will Likely on defense. I'm going to go dark horse here, Doodle Alert.
Really?
Give me some Ty Johnson, Dan. My name's
you love yourself some Ty.
Ty Johnson, running back, Maryland. Pair him with Lorenzo Harrison, and it might not be a great year for Maryland football, but Ty Johnson, Lorenzo Harrison should be a fun duo to watch in the backfield.
Yeah,
I was going to go Saquon Barkley, but everyone's going Doodle Alert on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
So give me Ty Johnson. He's my boy.
Yeah, he's going to hold up I'm not crazy about this offense. Defensively, they could be all right, but as you mentioned, they're pretty thin. They could lose a bunch of games to start the season, and they're going to need to scoop up Indiana, Rutgers. They might need to scoop up that Northwestern game. It's a drive to 6 kind of year, I think, for Maryland.
Totally. But Ty Johnson, Lorenzo Harrison, and a line that's actually half decent.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
And in true form here, the ultimate showing of disrespect. Let's go to Michigan State as our last team. How you feeling about Michigan State, Dan? Was last year a fluke? Was last year a harbinger of things to come and where this program is now headed?
It can be a little bit of everything. Last year, it seemed like talent-wise, they were in a pretty good space. They get worse up front defensively. Secondary was sort of uncharacteristically atrocious last year. There's certain things that even when Michigan State has a down year, they're going to play the pass pretty well. The defense is going to know what they're going to do, know what they're doing at all times, even if they're out-talented, whatever. Brian Lewerke has experience as a quarterback. I think we both really like LJ Scott as a running back in the backfield. I don't know who Lewerke is really going to be throwing to.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, can Michigan State generate any sort of explosion on offense? And that's not really what their offense is built around. But now, so no Josiah Price, no RJ Shelton. It's starting over after going whatever they went. Was it 3-9?
3-9.
It's probably for the best. And I think Mark D'Antonio is still too good a coach to just suddenly keep fielding lesser than bowl teams. So I think they bounce back. It's hard to see where that comes from with how they're currently built. So I think they can get to a bowl. I think they can go 6-6, 7-5. It's just after last year bottoming out at the degree that they did, it's tough. And we both root for teams that bottomed out. But
yes, this is true.
It still seems like, quarterback is pretty good for Oregon, Notre Dame right now. There are pieces on offense. This team is not built right now, and the coaching staff is not built. It doesn't seem at the moment to suddenly string together more explosive plays, more efficient plays, especially when they played down so much.
Yeah.
They played up to Ohio State, Michigan, whatever, for at least a good chunk of those games. But to me, it seems mental. If they can sort of get focused, play to play, week to week. They'll be fine. I don't know. They'll go to a bowl.
No.
I'm not seeing any sort of Rose return type situation.
Here's the thing. When you take a look at the schedule, there aren't a whole lot of breaks here, especially for a team that is kind of going through another rebuilding year. Both Michigan and Ohio State are on the road. You've got Notre Dame, Iowa, and Penn State. 3 tough games at home. Minnesota could be tricky. Northwestern, we know, is going to be tricky. Indiana could be tricky with their defense. Even Maryland late in the year could be tricky. To me, the real problem here, given the rebuild afoot, is that the ceiling might be 7-5, 6-6. That might be the ultimate ceiling for this team this year. I just don't know which way it's headed. I like LJ Scott. I like Gerald Holmes. I even like Brian Lewerke. I think he could be pretty good. But I don't know if we have enough data to really feel confident about Michigan State. So,
did you say Gerald?
Yeah, I did say Gerald. Yeah,
that's the greatest.
Tongue got out in front of my brain a little.
No, that's tight. You're speed guy.
6-6, 7-5. That's the ceiling.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I think they could surprise.
All right.
I think they are back into the disrespected place that they like. I think too many people are respecting them. I think they can go to a bowl game. If not even, listen, who do they have at home? Which good teams do they have at home? They have Penn State at home.
They've got Penn State, Iowa, Notre Dame, if you want to count them as a good team. At home. Indiana at home, Maryland at home.
Michigan State's my sneak pick. I'm rolling with it.
All right.
Secretly decent Michigan State. How about that?
That's a good jumping off point. You had a chance to interview our good friend Dave Revsine from Big Ten Network earlier today. Big Ten Network, by the way, 10-year anniversary.
It's true.
They're about as old as we are, Dan.
They are a little bit older because it's their 10-year anniversary, 11th season, where we've done this for 9 years, but 10 seasons.
Big Ten Network's done a really good job. Dave's been there from the very beginning. Loves the verbal. Wanted to come on and talk about what's going on over at the Big Ten Network. He gives some preliminary thoughts about where things might head this year. Let's throw it over to our friend, Mr. Revsine, to kind of wrap all this up.
And we are now joined, Dave Revsine, our pal over at the Big Ten Network. We like so many people at the Big Ten Network. Of course, Mike Hall has come on for many years. Dave has been on before. Dave, how's life? You're on the road.
I am on the road, yes. It's a great time of year, Dan. We get on a bus, Jerry DiNardo and Howard Griffith and I, and then a few producers and PR types and all kinds of new media people, and we travel around the Big Ten and we watch every team practice and do a preview show at every stop. We're going to see Penn State, Ty's crew later today, and it'll be the 5th stop for us on the tour. So it is a great time of year. It is really fun. This is the 10th anniversary of the network, our 11th season. And so Jerry and Howard and I have done this now 11 times going around the league, and it just never fails to be a good time and educational and all those things that you want it to be.
How's bus life? Does it get gross after a few days? Is there somebody who's particularly bad about, neatness, about the way they carry themselves, hygiene? What's that like?
Well, we've had to encourage DiNardo to shower more than once a week. And that's been, it's been a slow process for him. But no, everyone, it's great. I mean, the bus is fabulous. It is a really nice bus. So you've got Wi-Fi on there, and you got a refrigerator that's fully stocked, and you got all kinds of snacks, and there's satellite TV. So, I mean, it's not like we're on the yellow school bus or anything. It is a great deal. We definitely have a routine with the bus, kind of where everyone sits after all these years, and everyone's got their own peculiarities. But by and large, no. I hate to disappoint you, but we really don't have any overt hygiene problems. We're a hygienic crew, frankly.
Hey, that's great to hear. I love hearing that. And so you're going across the conference, which it's an interesting year. Obviously, the national perception, I think, is that it's a conference that's still relatively top-heavy with Michigan, Ohio State, and now Penn State with their performance, the way they finished the year in such a strong way. Do you get a sense with now a few new coaches in both divisions that there is a shifting identity, or have things sort of remained, in your mind, relatively static when you look at it big picture?
Well, I'll be really interested to see when we get to the West, Dan, because that's the side of the conference that hasn't totally pulled its weight, although obviously Wisconsin has been very good here. Iowa had one really good team 2 years ago. But by and large, I mean, you're right. There's this perception of imbalance. The strongest programs right now appear to be the ones in the East. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on in the West. Nebraska's made some pretty dramatic overhauls with, a new quarterback that'll, I think, go more along the lines of what Mike Riley's offensive philosophy has kind of always been, and then bringing in Bob Diaco to run the defense. So that should be really interesting. Iowa's got a new offensive coordinator, Kirk Ferentz's son. You have a lot of talent at Northwestern this year, particularly at the skill position. So where do those teams fit in? I do think that's interesting, but kind of until further notice, I think the East is where the greatest strength in the Big Ten lies. We've already seen Ohio State that are really impressive. We will see Penn State, as I said, later today. We've got Michigan coming up on the back end of our Eastern swing a little bit later in the week. So Michigan State as well. So we'll have a little bit better sense of where everyone fits in maybe 10 days or so from now. But if Ohio State's any indication, the side of the division could be pretty good. They were really awe-inspiring to watch.
On that same sort of note, I think what seems to pop for people, certainly both within Big Ten country and outside of it, is a certain excitement quotient. We saw it at the end of the year, particularly, I think, with Penn State, with Saquon Barkley in the Rose Bowl, Mike Gesicki making circus catches. The Joe Moorhead offense really reinvigorated things in State College, where you are right now. But, there are losses at Ohio State with speed guys, and, JT Barrett sort of struggled down the stretch. Michigan State was disappointing, to say the least, last year. Michigan loses a couple of its excitement quotient pieces, highlighted by Jabril Peppers. Where do you think that excitement quotient can grow? What are those new excitement names?
Well, I mean, Penn State obviously they're not new names, but
right.
You have two legitimate Heisman Trophy. And well, Barkley's, I think, a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate, and maybe McSorley's kind of a fringe Heisman Trophy candidate. I'll tell you who's really impressive, Dan, is J.K. Dobbins at Ohio State, freshman running back.
Okay.
He's a pop guy. I mean, you look at him and you just say, wow, great speed, really athletic. There is no doubt in my mind that he's going to play a really major role in their offense. And maybe by the end of the year, could end up being their feature back. I mean, Mike Weber, it was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, so it's a stretch to say, Weber will certainly be very involved in the offense, but man, Dobbins is something special. So that's a guy I could see. Tanner Lee, by all indications, the Nebraska quarterback, had a fabulous Manning passing academy. Some people say he was the best guy there. So I think on that side of the ledger, on that side of the conference, you've got a guy who could turn into a marquee name. So those are a few of the guys, kind of based on what we've seen so far. But yeah, I mean, that's, I'm with you. I mean, kind of the part of the appeal of the Big Ten last year was you always wanted to see what Jabril Peppers was going to do. And every time he touched the ball, there was that possibility for a big play. Certainly the case with Saquon Barkley, who's one of the most explosive players in the country. Where do those guys come from? And that's something that we're always kind of looking for on the tour.
Is there a team that, as you look forward, maybe that's somewhere, because I would say the middle class of the conference is fairly robust. We don't know really who's going to pop, who's going to be unexpectedly good, who might struggle a little bit. Is there a team that you look at and say, they may not be near the top of the conference, but they can put up a promising, fun, whether it's one side of the ball or the other, whether it's a specific player? Is there a team where you say the record might not reflect it, but they're going to be entertaining and sort of give people hell?
Well, I do think Nebraska, I mean, they won 9 games last year, so I don't know how big a stretch that is, but I'm surprised at how much people seem to be underestimating them. They have the bulk of the offensive line back. I think they'll be good there. I understand defense wasn't great. They did make this change, firing Mark Banker, which, for Mike Riley, I mean, the classic nice guy to fire someone who's been his defensive coordinator for 14 years and who's been with him for 20. That was somewhat dramatic. And it was, frankly, I mean, as the defense wasn't great, it was probably better than the offense. So, that it was a little bit curious, but I think that it does show that they believe there's kind of a higher upside to this program. So that's probably one I'm watching. I know there's a lot of hype about Northwestern. I'll be interested to see them. Justin Jackson's a fabulous back. Clayton Thorson is someone who I think is going to be a name that's talked about potentially in the NFL draft. If not this year, then certainly the year after. So I think that's a team that could make some noise, but they need to get better on the offensive line. That's kind of an ongoing story for them. I'm interested to see Minnesota. I don't know if they're necessarily going to take a step forward this year. But if PJ Fleck doesn't interest you, then you don't like college football. So that could be a fascinating one. I'd say those are kind of the ones that would jump out at me. Most of them are in the West. I think people feel like the East are kind of the known commodities, and the West is a little more where the question marks are.
So this will be, we're going into the 10th season of the Big Ten Network existing. And I think a lot of people now remember that the first game broadcast was that App State-Michigan game. So broadly speaking, first of all, have you been there all 10 years?
Yeah, so this is the 11th season technically. So you guys are celebrating your 10th, your 10th season, the 9-year anniversary. So it's our 10-year anniversary of the launch, August 30th, 2007. I was the first on-air hire, so I've been there the entire time. Mm-hmm. And it's been amazing. Yeah, I mean, that people do remember that App State-Michigan game. And we've had a lot of talk about this in the ensuing years. And it's really weird, Dan, because that day, I mean, it was maybe the most historic upset in college football in the last 25 years. It was one of the most historic upsets of all time, I think, in the game. And yet it's weird. There was so much that day on kind of, can we get on the air? We've never done a pregame show together with this group.
Right.
We had launched 2 days before. So you'd never done a pregame show. You'd never done a halftime. The terminology that people are using is different. I mean, just to use an example, the guy who was the producer, he called, when you're going to break, he called that the tease, right? Well, I came from ESPN, and the tease was at the beginning of SportsCenter, da-da-da, coming up on SportsCenter. That's the tease in my world. And so he'd say, like tease to break. And I'm thinking, what in the world is he talking about? You're just all of these kind of logistical things that you wouldn't think about. Where's the wide shot camera? What does the rundown look like? All of these things that were so logistically challenging for a group of people that had never worked together. And I'd worked with DiNardo at ESPN. I hadn't worked with Howard Griffith. So that was new. So everything that's going on there is new. And I didn't think it really occurred to me until probably like the beginning of the fourth quarter, where you're like, Michigan could really lose this game. and so that part of it is really strange, that I don't think more so than any day I've ever been a part of in my career, like the just kind of logistics of getting on the air and being on the air were so overriding on that day that until the end, it almost felt like the game that we were wrapping around almost in our mind felt secondary, but clearly, I mean, it was a historic result, and it was probably, in hindsight, and there's been a lot of talk about this back and forth through the years, but while it felt catastrophic at the time, because this was a team that was, many people thought, going to compete for a national championship in Michigan, and they lose to Appalachian State, it may have been a good thing for the network, because we were fighting distribution battles at that point. We weren't on the air on the major cable carriers throughout the Midwest. We were on DirecTV, we were on Dish Network, but we weren't on, Comcast and the big carriers that people get their cable through. And part of the rhetoric against us in this battle was, well, they're not going to have any significant games. And then to have one of the most significant games in college football right out of the gate, I think that kind of put that notion to rest a little bit and gave us a little bit of leverage.
So the Big Ten Network is one of the most specific networks in terms of a sports network's launch in what the network covers. And it's regional, it's college, whereas you have regional networks, of course, existing beforehand. There's a Yankees network that has existed for a while, but this is specific to just college, specific to just this one region that has since expanded, obviously. But what was the vision at the onset? And now that there are more networks, both college conference networks and other sports networks across sort of TV galaxy, what was the vision initially, and how has that sort of evolved and become what it is today in 2017?
Well, I think the vision was to really be a home for Big Ten fans. And I didn't really understand the vision until I came out and interviewed with them. And I kind of thought it was going to be an extension of ESPN regional television, which, kind of syndicated the Big Ten games. I didn't really understand it was going to be a 24/7 network. So a lot of that was very eye-opening to me when I was with Mark Silverman as the president and Commissioner Delaney, and kind of understood that they saw this as a 24/7, 365-day-a-year destination for the league. I think that we always felt like from the very beginning that if people were going elsewhere for their Big Ten news, that we would be failing. And so that we had to be honest that when a team wasn't playing well, you had to say they weren't playing well. This couldn't be like kind of state-controlled media here. We had to give honest opinions. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that has evolved through the years. There were obviously some really challenging situations. I think the biggest one, no doubt, would be the Jerry Sandusky scandal here in State College, where I'm sitting right now, and kind of how you handle that as a conference network. And I don't, if there's anything I'd like to have back, it would probably be those first couple days after that story broke, which I didn't think we handled as well as we could have. But by and large, I think we've done a really good job of it. I mean, I'm really proud of kind of what we've become. The programming is really good. The journey, I think, is something to really be proud of. And that's been a fabulous show. We've had incredible continuity. You mentioned Mike Hall. He's been there from the get-go. Rick Pizzo as well. Jerry DiNardo, Howard Griffith, our studio analysts. I mean, we've been a team, the three of us now going on our 11th season. So it's been a really good place to work, really good people. I think a kind of an understanding that we were breaking ground, that we were the first to do this, and that there was no blueprint for it. And that was really exciting. It could kind of be whatever you wanted it to be. And has it been perfect? I don't think it has been. You have to be honest with yourself and say that. Have there been missteps along the way? But man, I'm proud of what it's been. I mean, I think it's a really, really good network, and it's cool to go out. And, I do play-by-play for basketball games, and so I'm out on campus at that time of year, and certainly walking around town this time of year where Jerry and Howard and I are out doing the preview shows, and to see the impact that we've had on Big Ten fans, Dan, and how many people can't come up and say thank you, and how much they enjoy the shows, and how it's changed their viewing habits. It's funny, I was speaking to someone the other day as a big Ten Network viewer, and I said, we're working on these 10-year anniversary shows, which we're going to be rolling out starting August 30th. We're going to look back on 1 year per week of the Big Ten Network era, kind of what was the 2009 season like. We're going to have a prelude show on August 30th, and then it'll be one show a week. And I was telling about that. I said, can you believe it's been 10 years? And he said, I can't believe it's only been 10 years because it's such a huge part of my life. Where were those games before? I don't even remember what it was like before. That you guys are so integral to kind of my viewing habits. And so that felt really good because I think at the beginning, particularly that first year where people couldn't get the network, there was this feeling of why are we doing this again? And the fact that it's turned out to be such a big part of the lives of Big Ten fans is really gratifying.
So if you're put in charge, or at least you have a sort of shifted role of like a development executive at the Big Ten Network saying, I really like how we do X and Y. I wish we would try more Z. I wish we would lean into doing more of this. I wish, there was a new version of blank. What when you look forward at the future of the Big Ten Network, what do you hope is sort of more of a thing within the Big Ten Network?
Well, I'd say the big thing, Dan, is, and we started this last year and it was successful, but I want to see more of it, is I think that we need to be out among the fans more. So, in other words, I wanted this network from the very outset to be the network of the fans. We wanted them to feel real ownership in this, and that we understand their schools and represent their schools. But we have such a limited universe. I mean, it's 14 teams, and I do believe that we know those teams better than anyone else. And I don't say that to be negative about anyone else. I say it just because we better know them better than anyone else. Otherwise, we're failing miserably in our jobs, right? So, and I think that we want to bring that to the fans a little bit more. So we started last year, BTN Tailgate Show with myself and Spice Adams and Coach DiNardo. We're adding Stanley Jackson this year. an on-campus pregame show. Clearly we're not the first to think of this idea. We had done a few through the years where we might go on a one-off type deal to do our pregame show on campus if it was a really big day, big game, maybe a game that BTN had. But now doing it weekly during conference season. So we started that last year. I think we might do it a little more with basketball this year. That's the big thing to me. How do we interact with the fans? How do we kind of touch the fan base? I mean, maybe not literally touch them, but kind of metaphorically, sure. Be there, really close and let them experience BTN. And again, make it feel like it is more their network, because that's what we want it to be. So I think that's the big thing. And the great thing about it is that I do get voice in that I am a part of kind of helping to make those decisions, or at least adding input into those decisions. And that's been incredibly gratifying. That again, I was 11 years at ESPN. I loved ESPN. Mm-hmm. And by its very nature, by the vastness of it, it's hard to kind of impact it. And so I don't mean that in any kind of a negative way that, well, I didn't have this voice there and I should have had this voice. No, in the little things I worked on, College Game Day Radio or whatever it was that were my domain, I have say. But you didn't have say into the broader network just by the very virtue of how large it was. No one had that kind of say. No on-air guy did. Here I do. And that has been really, really cool. And again, I think it's been such a collective effort of everybody, of what do we want this network to be? And that, to me, this is a big initiative for us of reaching out to the fans. But maybe there'll be something else in a couple of years. And the beauty of it is people are approachable there. You can say, what if we did X? And people are willing to give X a try.
Everybody listening, do check out Big Ten Network and their retrospective starting, it looks like 3 weeks from today, August 30th. And
August 30th. Yeah.
And Dave Revsine.
That is the 10-year anniversary
of
the launch of the Big Ten Network.
10-year anniversary, retrospective. Dave Revsine, thank you very much for your time. Good luck to your stomach. Good luck to the bus. And enjoy the rest of your August.
Dan, it's my pleasure. I told you this offline, but I'll say it here too. I really enjoy your guys' work. It is a ton of fun. Yes. I listen to it on my runs, and I just think you guys do a really good job. So you keep up your good work, and hopefully we'll cross paths again sometime soon.
All right, cool. Dave Revsine, again, Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
Great of him to stop on by. We should just throw this out there to really give it our own recap.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. SiriusXM, the solid verbal, 888-999-101010. Give us a call on the InstaLube hotline. We're talking Big Ten. Is Jim Harbaugh all bark and no bite in Ann Arbor? Can Michigan get over the hump? Big question. No doubt about it. Will Kevin Wilson jumpstart Ohio State's offense? Too much talent in Columbus not to win big. Is Penn State the real team to watch in the Big Ten? Big question. No doubt about it. Will the Big Uglies at Wisconsin have something to say about the title? I know they're excited in Madison. Can PJ Fleck bring energy and that row the boat mentality to Minnesota? Splash higher? No doubt about it. Was 2016 just an anomaly for Michigan State? I won't be the one to doubt Mark D'Antonio, that's for sure. Lovie Smith got to the Super Bowl with the Bears. Can that work in Champaign for the Illini? Huge question, no doubt about it. What about Iowa? There's a reason Kirk Ferentz is the dean of the conference, and that reason is class. Great coach, even better guy. Another big year in Lincoln for Mike Riley. Can Bob Diaco get the black shirts back to glory? Another question, Tanner Lee, dark horse Heisman candidate, you tell me. Let's talk Northwestern. Year in and year out, Pat Fitzgerald just gets it done. When's this guy going to get his due? Big question, no doubt about it. And what about Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Purdue? Has the conference ever been deeper with excitement? And once again, 888-999-1010. Give us a call on the InstaLube hotline. And because you requested it, and I'm getting the jimmies just hearing the opening notes, Ed Sheeran.
There you have it, Dan.
Did you get the jimmies, Ty? I'm
a little bit
positive you like that song.
I'm an Ed fan.
It's a catchy song.
All right. This has been a longer show. Covered a lot of ground. Okay. Big thank you to our friend Dave Revsine. We have decided this year, I'm doing this unannounced.
Oh, wow. Oh, here we go. Breaking news?
No breaking news.
Oh, okay.
We've decided this year for the longer shows that we might add an extra element to our secret verbals.
Ooh.
I thought since we are just getting warmed up for the college football season, this could be the correct opportunity to trot out our new element, our new thought about how we could do this.
I think it's a great plan, Ty.
The plan...
I've got an idea, but continue.
The plan this year is to not just tweet a random thing at a random person.
Yeah.
The plan this year...
sort of.
Well, it sort of is, but we want to incorporate some sort of imagery, a photo, if you will, a random photo, say of your dog, say of a flower, say of a car. I don't know. Could be almost anything at a random person. No words are required for this secret verbal.
No.
Just a picture. Something to leave people thinking, why am I being sent this picture? Because we've had a shtick now for a couple years. The word is out on what's been going on with us. This could be a way to mix it up a little bit.
Okay, so do you want to do a secret verbal right now? No words, pictures only.
Yeah.
All right, I have a person in mind because we ended with Michigan State, and I believe she is a Michigan State fan. I think also alumnus.
Okay.
Kay Adams.
Okay.
Friend of ours. She hosts Good Morning Football for, I believe, the NFL Network. Our friends at Embassy Row produced the show. Kay Adams, send Kay, and this will always be G-rated throughout the season.
Yes.
Send Kay a picture. Just find it on Google Images. If you happen to have one on your phone, just send her a picture of an enchilada.
Enchilada.
Or a pan of enchiladas.
The Twitter account is Hey Kay Adams. HeyKayAdams. Hey Kay Adams.
Yes. Yeah, just tweet her a pan of enchiladas, a picture. And do not tell her where it came from. Do not tag it with Solid Verbal. Do not hashtag it. Do not tag us. Just a picture of a pan of enchiladas.
That's what we're here for.
Could be green, could be red, could be whatever. Both.
Could be branded Michigan State. Doesn't matter.
That's true. Michigan State green is better, I guess. Yeah. Hey, Kay Adams. Just tweet her a picture of enchiladas.
All right.
Go on Google Images. There's plenty.
There you have it. Long show here. My voice is petering out on me, so this is a good time to actually walk away from the microphone, grab some dinner, maybe an enchilada.
Live dangerously.
For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildenbrand, thank you again for tuning into the Solid Verbal. Hope to see you all this weekend at the live show. In the meantime, stay safe.
Peace.
Don't forget to check out our good friends over at propercloth.com. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Go to propercloth.com/solid today. Enter the code SOLID and get $20 off your first shirt.